Have you ever felt like the faces you draw look kinda stiff? Do you only ever draw the same type of faces over and over and over again? Don't worry, my fellow artists, because this is a problem that everyone faces. Even me. Just look at some of my previous art. Smiley face, pouty face, grouchy face. The same 3 faces over and over again. I'm tired of drawing the same faces. I was mulling over what I was supposed to do one day when I came across this video on YouTube by Hash, showcasing a face tracking add-on they created for a VR chat model. And my god, it felt like I was Ryan Gosling staring up at the hologram. How does a face make me feel such a way? I knew there was something special here, but I felt like these kind of facial expressions weren't just limited to Hash's work. I've seen plenty of other 3D animations with impressively expressive faces. I mean, have you seen Zenless Zone Zero's animations? It's so bouncy and vibrant and bouncy. Why is it so bouncy? Anyway, it's clear that there's something different about 3D anime expressions, and I feel like I could learn a thing or two if I studied them. And so, I set out gathering screenshots from both Zenless Zone Zero's character showcases and Hash's videos, picking out the facial expressions that conveyed the most emotion. Okay, so I gathered some screenshots. God, these faces are so expressive. I don't know how to explain it. Think with 3D models, you're allowed to squash and stretch in a way that I think 2D animation doesn't show that much. These are some of the best ones, I think. You know, some of them you have to keep in mind that the pose also helps communicate what her mood is. I'm gonna take a few and then take a closer look at them, take a closer analysis at what makes their facial expressions so good. Okay, so now I'm gonna go straight into trying to replicate how these faces are drawn. Now, normally what people would do when they want to study another person's art style is, oh, I just trace the rough structure of how they draw the head, facial features, you know, eyes, nose, and mouth. And then surely I will learn how to draw like them. But that's not how that works, at least for me. Because when I do it, I glean 0 information. Literally nothing. So instead, what we're gonna do is go straight into replicating their art style just by drawing. And I feel like by doing that, y'all definitely learn a lot more. And I highly recommend that you guys do the exact same thing as well. And so I spent the next 5 hours copying out 6 different faces. You might have noticed that I also drew in the hair, neck, and shoulders, as well as coloring in each drawing. It's my philosophy that when studying something, you should also practice its relation with other concepts in drawing as well. But you can learn more about that in the video in the top right. The actual learning process, I found out, actually came from looking back at each reference while drawing, and then fixing things using the liquify tool. Through that process, I felt like I was subconsciously learning how to better place each part of the face correctly to each other. But consciously, was I actually learning how to draw better facial expressions? So that was all really hard, and I feel like I got some really good reps of practice in, but I feel like I haven't really learned anything. Guess not. Turns out, even though the practice helped, I still had to go back and analyze what I did to really grasp what made these faces so good. Okay, so what did I actually find out? Well, a few things actually. The biggest thing I learned is that when it comes to making an expressive face, the mouth is the most important part. No other feature of the face comes close. Now, common sense would probably tell you the eyes, as it's the thing humans naturally look to, but anime eyes operate differently. With anime eyes, their shape and structure are tied heavily with their identity. Changing the shape is tantamount to changing the drawing style of the character completely. Not to say you can't play around with how the eyes look, we'll talk about that later. But you don't have to worry about any of that with mouths, as you can change the size and shape as much as you want and the character's identity stays the exact same. With that being said, because the mouth is so important to displaying a character's emotion, you should take the time to draw it very carefully. If the mouth looks wrong by itself, then it can make the entire face look off. So I'd recommend you take the time to draw your mouths very intentionally. If I were to rank each part of the face in order of most important for expressing emotions, it would be this: mouth, eyebrows, then the eyes. Eyebrows are arguably just as important as the mouth for expressing emotions, as just changing them changes the expression immensely, but they're placed lower as I feel you can't play with them as much as you could with mouths. Now, the second most important thing I learned is that you shouldn't be afraid to squash and stretch individual parts of the face, even the eyes. In this drawing of Lapwing, you can see that one of her eyes is squished down, while her other eye is stretched out, giving her a maniacal look. I don't think I've ever done anything like this in my entire career as an artist. I felt like I've always treated each eye as one object instead of individual parameters I could play with. This principle of squashing and stretching even applies more so to mouths. Human mouths are extremely elastic in real life, so it only makes sense that you have the freedom to draw them like that as well. Hell, don't be afraid to even break anatomy and have your mouth swing side to side like her mouth does here. If you're drawing a character being timid, why not size down the mouth lower than you usually would to exaggerate what they're feeling? If you want a character to be boisterous and yelling, why not stretch the mouths taller? Wait a minute. Squash and stretch, exaggeration. Am I just applying the 12 principles of animation to drawing? Literally, as I'm writing the script, it just clicked in my head. Was that the secret sauce that made these two things so special? What the f is going on? Am I stupid for just noticing this? Aside from that massive derailment, there is one more rule I want to explain. The number one most important rule you do not break when it comes to drawing nice looking faces is that facial features must be placed parallel to each other, with exceptions of course. Even with all the squash and stretch, almost all of the faces I analyzed place the facial features parallel. It's a drawing fundamental that you need to understand before you can bend the rules. That said, you can make exceptions for the mouth, like I said before, as you have more freedom to exaggerate its movements without it looking weird. But for the eyebrows and the eyes, and even the pupils, most of the time they should follow this rule. And that's about everything I learned. But you can't say you fully learned something without first applying it on the field. So then, let's try applying the knowledge I learned by drawing a completely original face with no references. Okay, here I have a list of complex emotions I put on a wheel. And now we're gonna spin it to see which emotion I should draw. What the hell does that even mean? Vindictive meaning. Person or action characterized by an unreasonable or unforgiving desire for revenge or spiteful harm. What? Vindictive. That is a hard emotion to draw. Because they can't just be mad. Like that's just mad. How do you show vindictiveness? A need for revenge. Wow, that is tough. Do I just make them more mad? Like I don't know exactly what I should do. Okay, how about like a more subtle mad? Like what about, you know, we got one eye twitching, make the mouth a little smaller. Oh yeah, wait, hold on, I think I'm cooking. Maybe we add like clenched fist. But this kind of looks like they're going, "Arr, I'm gonna beat you up." So maybe about have them look like they're scheming. I kind of like this concept as a base. I think I'll explore more once I actually like draw out the face. I like what we have so far, so let's start. Well, I mean, I think I did a pretty good job. I won't lie. I think I added in a little bit of disgust into the emotion, but I think this would still count as vindictive, maybe. Comparing it to the one I drew before, then yeah, I feel like I improved a lot. I call this a big success. So what are the big takeaways from what we learned today? Well, copying faces is a fun form of practice, but that's kinda all it is. I got a bit better at drawing on a technical level, but I didn't actually gain any knowledge. It wasn't until I took a step back and did some analysis did I have a breakthrough and learned what I showed you guys today. An important lesson I hope you guys learned is that you should think a little harder when you draw. Also, I should learn animation. Knowing the 12 principles there seemed kinda important. If you enjoyed this video, you should subscribe. I'll be making a lot more videos like these in the upcoming weeks. Anyways, I'm gonna go lay down now.